In a small Louisiana town, the Sturdivant house had long been the subject of urban legends and ghost stories. Built in 1892 by a mysterious tycoon, it was known for its hidden hallways and secret rooms, and was surrounded by rumors of supernatural events. In 2005, a young woman named Emily, passionate about urban exploration, decided to investigate the Sturdivant house. Armed with a video camera and a flashlight, she entered the old abandoned structure. What she found was beyond imagination. The diaries detailed ceremonies and sacrifices that were said to have taken place in the house. Emily, with growing horror, realized that the Sturdivant house had been the center of paranormal activities far more sinister than the legends suggested. As she continued to explore, she began to hear strange noises and see shadows move at the edge of her vision. She started to hear whispering voices, almost as if the walls themselves were speaking. Her terror grew when she saw a dark figure following her from room to room. Convinced that the house was haunted by the spirits conjured by Sturdivant, Emily desperately looked for a way out. As she ran through the corridors, the house seemed to transform, with doors disappearing and walls shifting. It was as if the Sturdivant house was alive, trying to keep Emily inside. Finally, Emily found an exit and fled the house, leaving behind the terrible secrets she had uncovered. Back in town, she shared her experience, but many did not believe her. She decided to return to the house with some friends to prove her story, but they found the Sturdivant house burned to the ground. The police concluded it was an accidental fire, but Emily knew there was more. After the mysterious destruction of the Sturdivant house, Emily, increasingly obsessed with understanding the paranormal events she had experienced, made a decision that would forever change her life. She turned to a fortune teller in town, unaware that this choice was the worst she could make. The fortune teller, known for her skills in black magic, immediately sensed Emily's state of fear and confusion. Taking advantage of her vulnerability, the witch began to perform dark rituals, using black magic to manipulate and torment Emily. The sinister practices included macumba and other forms of malevolent magic, which would have terrible consequences. Soon after, Emily began to be tormented by evil spirits that claimed to be those present in the Sturdivant house. The apparitions and voices haunted her day and night, making it impossible for her to live a normal life. Emily's reality turned into an endless nightmare, a world where the boundaries between the living and the spiritual were dangerously blurred. People close to Emily began to notice a drastic change in her behavior. She seemed constantly terrified, speaking loudly to invisible entities, and reacting to threats that only she could perceive. Emily's belief that she would have been left in peace if she had never consulted the fortune teller became a painful reality. Emily's disappearance soon became the subject of rumors and urban legends. Some claimed she was undergoing continuous exorcisms to rid her of the evil spirits tormenting her. Others believed she had been locked away in a mental institution, unable to face reality. The truth about Emily's fate remained shrouded in mystery. The story of her descent into the dark world of black magic and ghosts became a cautionary tale about the dangers of exploring the unknown and the need to protect oneself from the dark forces that lurk behind seemingly innocent facades. The legend of Emily and the Sturdivant house continued to live on in the town, a constant reminder that some doors, once opened, cannot be closed again, and that the price of knowledge can be higher than one might imagine. In the fog-enshrouded bay of San Francisco, the island of Alcatraz stands enveloped in an aura of mystery and terror. Famous for its impenetrable federal prison, closed in 1963, the island harbors dark stories within its abandoned halls. However, few are aware of an even more sinister tale lost in time. In 1962, just before the prison's closure, an inmate named James O'Malley, known for his intelligence and dangerousness, mysteriously vanished from his cell. Despite thorough searches, his body was never found, turning his disappearance into a legend among inmates. Years after the closure, Alcatraz became a popular tourist attraction. One day, a tour guide named Sarah observed peculiar behavior in a visitor who introduced himself as Jack. He seemed overly interested in O'Malley's cell. As she told the story of the inmate's disappearance, Sarah noticed Jack's disconcerting smile. That evening, driven by curiosity about Jack, Sarah did some digging and found no record of a visitor by that name on that day. Returning to Alcatraz for another tour, she encountered Jack again. This time, he requested to see the prison's most secluded parts. As they wandered the dark corridors, Jack began to tell Sarah about O'Malley, revealing details he couldn't possibly know. His voice turned into a whisper as he described the night of the inmate's disappearance as if he had witnessed it. Fearing for her safety, Sarah realized she needed to escape. Turning a corner, she faced an open cell where a shadow loomed against the wall, resembling O'Malley. The shadow moved towards her, and Sarah ran, screaming for help. Outside the prison, Sarah looked back to see if Jack was following, but the man had already disappeared. There was no trace of him or the shadow. Security agents, responding to her screams, found no one. Shortly after, Sarah left her job, haunted by Jack's figure and the shadow she had seen. She began to believe that Jack was O'Malley's ghost, returned to haunt the living, and that the island concealed even darker secrets. Following the eerie experience, Sarah started seeing the sinister shadow at her home, as if pursued by an unseen presence. Everywhere she went, she felt watched by something, lurking in the shadows, seemingly connected to the shadow in O'Malley's cell. To calm her nerves, Sarah installed security cameras at home. Each night, she reviewed the footage for any sign of the presence, but the camera showed nothing unusual. The rooms were always empty, no signs of intrusions or strange movements. Concerned for her mental health, friends and family wondered if the fear and shock from Alcatraz had triggered a psychological disorder in Sarah. She even began to doubt her sanity, yet couldn't shake off the feeling that the shadow was real. Sarah's condition worsened. She frequently woke up, screaming at night, convinced the shadow was in her bed or lurking in the corner. Her accounts of the shadow and Jack became increasingly vivid and terrifying, causing her to live in constant fear. Eventually, Sarah sought professional help. Diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, she began treatment to overcome her fears. Despite therapy and medication, she remained tormented by O'Malley's shadow. Sarah's story spread throughout the city, becoming a cautionary tale about the dangers of delving into the unknown and the need to protect oneself from dark forces lurking behind seemingly innocent facades. To this day, Sarah is still in treatment, struggling to differentiate reality from illusion. The shadow of O'Malley, whether real or imagined, continues to haunt her, a constant reminder of the night her life changed forever. In a small town in Texas, Anna and her 4 friends decided to spend a weekend in a country house near the woods of Old Creek, known for its ghost stories and local legends. Anna, always sensitive to such atmospheres, felt uneasy from the start. The first evening, while her friends enjoyed the party, Anna noticed a dark figure lurking at the edge of the woods. It seemed like a man, but his movements were too fluid and silent to be human. Despite being frightened, Anna chose not to say anything, thinking it was just a trick of the light. The second evening, the figure reappeared, this time closer to the house. Anna alerted her friends, but when they went out to investigate, they found nothing. They joked about her fear, but Anna couldn't shake off the sense of terror. On the third night, the tension escalated. The mysterious figure appeared again, and this time, even Tom, the bravest of the group, saw it. Determined to learn more, he ventured into the woods with a flashlight, while Anna and others waited behind. Minutes later, the air was pierced by a chilling scream. Panicked, Anna ran alone into the woods, while 2 friends ran to help Tom. The other 2 fled to call for help. Confused and scared, Anna returned to their lodging place and ventured into the woods. There, she found Tom's flashlight on the ground, but no sign of him or the other friends. Alone and terrified, she decided to seek refuge and help. Her search led her to an abandoned house, the one and only nearby. Cautiously entering, Anna hoped to find something inside. The atmosphere was oppressive, with old furniture covered in dust and cobwebs. As she explored, she heard footsteps upstairs. Climbing the creaking stairs, her heart pounded. At the top, she faced a man from the woods. His eyes were cold and inhuman. With a scream, he lunged at her. Anna, in a survival instinct, struck him with a piece of wood and fled into the night. Injured and terrified, she ran through the fields until she reached a road where a passing truck driver stopped. Seeing Anna terrified, he called the police for her. The officers arrived at the abandoned house but found no one. There were no signs of the man or Anna's friends. 3 days later, in the dead of the night, Anna received an anonymous message on her phone. "Help me, I'm still here, don't abandon me." Despite her fear, she decided to return to Old Creek to save her friends, armed only with her determination. From that moment, even Anna's traces were lost. No one knows what happened to her and why she went to save her friends alone without telling anyone. Anna's disappearance added another dark chapter to the legend of Old Creek. The police continued their search, but neither she nor her friends were ever found.